Yes, thank you.
All right. Hey everyone. Um, it seems stable, but I think some people are still coming in, but it should be okay. We're gonna have a big call today. So it's good to start out. Um, yeah, I hope you're all well. We had a Zoom call last week and we're gonna build on top of that. So we're not gonna repeat the same material. We're going to complement. So there's gonna be some advancement here, trying to juggle in my mind, my brain, actually what to bring up. Um, but I also want to bring up maybe uh, one of the core points in playlisting. I noticed in the last call that a lot of people were interested in what's beyond the playlist. That's all well and good. The playlist is like an opening into all things interrelated, interlocked, interwoven together. Um, but it's really important to start holding boundaries, themes, topics that when you hold the space, in the beginning, you would like generalize around certain terms like energy and life force and kundalini, and you just keep talking about those over and over again. But the longer you spend, especially the more you spend time with certain people, you would then put layers on top, especially as trainings start to occur. You need to be able to extend or expand topics and subject matters into different folders, categories, and so on and so forth. So today we're going to talk about the playlisting process in a way that we use sound to construct a wave that comprises what is a journey. Like what does it mean that you will take people within a 60-minute or 90-minute travel into what is unknown and what is known. So I think a lot of people, they generally think that the the process is made up, like it's all a bunch of random elements. There are actually like strict frameworks that many facilitators follow. So how this enables or empowers you is you want to understand like what can you play around with. You want to be like a child, you want to play, you want to be an artist, you want to create in a way that's spontaneous. But then when a child plays, especially in a social environment, there are parameters, there are rules, there are containers that's not entirely random. And to a child, this actually helps a child to play better. Like when you think of games, one of the definitions that allow a game to be a game is there needs to be superimposed limits, and the limits in a way help to help any person to improve themselves, like for you to be able to become a better player, better person. It's actually the boundaries that allow you to keep going again and again in a way that when you look at the process, something like inner dance or something like the kundalini activation thing people do, um it's actually always the same process, but it's never the same journey. There's something very unlimited in the way you're able to bring combination out of a whole infinity of things to select from, and then you can combine things from that. So let's take this somewhat in depth. Let's see how much time we can spend today going over concepts and ideas that can be helpful in the long term. So let me see. Um, Playlisting gives choices to the facilitator, really. It's really up to you. No one's going to tell you where to construct from. Do you do it either from space or from time? Okay. Time technically means you would do it live. It's a bit thick. You need to be present in the space. You need to be right there. And the environment would be quite social in nature. Now, one thing important is there needs to be some kind of mediation. Mediation. Someone needs to be there to facilitate, basically. Okay, like there needs to be a medium of some sort. And I'll clarify what this means when I go to the other aspect. It's not based on time, but based on space. All right, so let's look at space. Okay, time would be probably synonymous with what we will call today, like doing things live, like in the moment. All right, so if you're not doing things live, you're doing things in the studio. So when you do things in the studio, there could be instead of mediation, like you can actually be absent, or a part of you, an aspect of you doesn't even need to be in the space per se. There are ways to do that so that healing can occur with or without the facilitator, thereby allowing for less dependency, less there's a stable element that comes with working within the studio. There's a way in which you can handle narrative a little bit more when you also work with the studio. There's a dimension of internalization that also is quite possible. Whereas there's a lot of externalization that happens in the live situation. Okay, this is recorded anyway, so if you miss out certain things, if you're taking notes, it's fine. You have the notes like recorded in perpetuity. Here's another way we can maybe represent the process. So in sacred geometry, you'd probably perceive symbols like these. The playlisting process could either be what I might call here, let me see. This is confusing because I can represent this in either way, but let me call this the emergent property, and I would call this the convergent property. This is if, let's say, we're looking at directionality based on the pyramid would be the fiery element. It's the masculine. It's that moment in which energy goes up. Emergent, even though emergence seems like it's going up, in this case, it would be the arrow or the directionality would be going down. Okay, so let me take those arrows out. So emergent, let's start with emergent. It would pretty much be, okay, imagine that this would be a whole bunch of information at the base. And you could be talking about concepts, words, like how an hourglass works, right? It's like you have, let's say you have all this sand, and that sand would fall, and then it can trickle particles of sand one at a time, in a way that is sort of like how time works. So this is how the ancients used to measure time anyway. So emergent in this way would be okay, sorry, I need to clean this. I need a cleaner triangle. Let me make another triangle. Eh, stop doing that. All right. So let's say the massive amount of information would be here, where duality is stretched out, and then this would be maybe symbolic of the now, like this part right here, the here. Whereas here, what you have scattered would be all the information that belongs to memory and to um as opposed to maybe the convergent space where the directionality would be heading up. So let's say you have access to all this information that had been experienced in the past and had been lived. And then you're able to integrate a lot of that based on what you have accumulated. So symbolically, I would like to configure this as this would be more, this for one would be the more intuitive, like this one on the right would be the intuitive. This would be um let's say one maybe one concept is the a priori, which is a philosophical term that describes something that hasn't really happened yet, like prior to the event, um prior to the present. There's something anticipated, that which has yet to come to pass. So you haven't put in the hours, you haven't seen it yet, it hasn't really come through, and it is about to come into an emergent space, to something that is about to come into visibility that was invisible. As opposed to here, this could be more the a posteriori. It's that which has already happened. Let's say you went to school, you went to study a particular subject matter, like in a way that's clear, explicit, and understood. So if you have put in that time, you put in the hours, you can integrate that here, like here at the top, because you have access very consciously, structurally, that all those stuff that's in the base. So this might be more to do with space as a technique, as a choice that you can make when you conduct a playlisting process. And this could be more to do with time. Time as you know it, were we to keep looking at this grid, time is sequential, that which unfolds one point at a time only, and space is that which can happen all at once. Like all at the same time, all at once. So obviously, where this is going to head, as in most things in our dance, we probably would find a way in which we can combine emergent and convergent properties. We want you to access both time and space, that there are certain playlisting techniques that are quite good with space. Space is technically what you could do at home alone without the pressure. Uh, time being like live, you don't do it at home. You do it right then and there in the heat of the moment. You don't have time to arrange the vibration. It's pretty much like take it as you leave it. It will be spontaneous, and whatever comes up, you need to react to the moment. So you do have those choices. If I was to maybe improve on this and make this more concrete, let's create a possible other grid. So let's say time, let's put time at the bottom. And let's put up a line here. Let's make this sticker. Okay, let's put up a line here. I don't know how long that needs to be. And need more space. And then up here, let's put in space. No, I think I'll need more space. Literally. So let's put space up here. So let's look at your choices. Let's say on the right side, let's put time spent. How much time are you going to spend in the creation process? And here would be probably the dimension that can be accessed. It could be, usually I'd write dimensional awareness, but I don't have the space in this thing that I'm using. And okay, let's close this up. And let's say here, would be less time spent and then more time spent. Okay, meaning that at the top requires a little bit more discipline, maybe a lot more discipline, a lot more experience. And at the bottom here, the time spent, like here, we're looking at something more intuitive. Like you don't need to study much, you don't need to prepare as much. Okay, let's adjust this so that it's not so in the way. And then here to the left side, sorry, let's move this. I need the space. Dimensional could either be more intuitive or automatic. Right, let's just put auto there because we don't have the space. And then here, it would be less intuitive. Like up here, it would be more conscious. Conscious. All right. That's a little bit dirty, but it's okay. All right. So let's look at the possibilities here. So let's say Spotify would be the easiest, right? It would be that which you don't need to spend so much time there. And dimensionally, that's a lot more automatic. And then let's say in the last call, we talked about, let's say, some noise apps that you can find, or just other apps that might be available. And then there could be these basic programs that you can find that are digital audio workstations. I'm going to show some of those today. And then you can also think about like using instruments. It could be analog or it could be digital. For some people, this would actually be more at the bottom because it takes less time and this could be more automatic. But when you bring this more into a studio element, you can still spend a lot more time with this, like in the studio, not just live. And then you can have advanced digital audio workstations. I don't actually remember if we went into any digital audio workstations last week, but I can open that up today if need be. It could be Logic Pro or Ableton. I'm pretty sure we probably opened, but I'm not actually sure. So this is what a grid would look like. This may not be relevant to a lot of you who may not be so technical prepared or interested at all, but the more time you spend in the energy process, especially if you start to professionalize, let's say you decide that this is what you do, and then you start working with groups, especially outside the spiritual community. Let's say you work with doctors, you work with schools, and you work with companies. You might want to work more with the studio sometimes because there will be a need for less mediated possibilities when you work with certain groups. You can't always be there. So let's say there are people who are working with schools. You cannot be the facilitator in schools. There are teachers inside the schools who can do a better job than you in the long term. So what you would do is you would train the teachers. So imagine like a lot of these playlists, for example, that I am able to share with people. I don't need to be in the workshop space for me to be able to contribute to that. So that's another example of what it means to either work live, where you always need to be there. That could be amazing, but that could be tiring at a certain point. If you want to scale, studio can be quite key. If you see what I'm getting to right now. So in other words, studio means you might start to produce, you become a kind of music producer as opposed to here you're really just using music that's pre-produced like in certain ways. Okay, I wasn't actually going to go so technical on this today because there's something I think that's more important to go through in the process, and I feel this will be more practical and interesting for most people. I want to go into the 12 stages, which is for many inner dance facilitators, if you are interested in inner dance in its rudiments, this is an introduction to inner dance. The 12 stages is something inner dance specific. This is something you won't find in other modalities. So what are the 12 stages? Let's itemize them here and then we'll go over them one at a time. Today. There's the awakening. Sorry, what am I talking about? It's not that. Um, it's my 3 o'clock in the morning. No, 1:30. Satisfaction is the first. If you're taking notes, this would be a good time because it can help you to embed this inside yourself. Dissatisfaction is the second. Number third is the threshold. Okay. These are the stages of the journey. Number four would be the purgation. Purgation means release. Number five would be disintegration. And then number six would be this is the point in which the awakening begins. Anyway, for a normal workshop where you have like average people, mostly who don't even know much about the energy. And then you have what's called the illumination. And number eight would be choice. Number nine would be success or failure. And then number 10 would be called the dark night of the soul. All right. So number 11 would be called the unitive state. And number 12 would be called the reintegration. All right. So these are the 12 stages. So this is in fact what made the inner dance originally anyway. A lot of us, including me, I don't follow this anymore per se. I don't need to. Because a lot of people are witnessing a lot of these stages all at the same time based on where the energy is at. But playlist construction had followed this originally, like over the years. This is what allowed facilitators to construct a journey so it wouldn't get loopy. It's a kind of guide, a definitive structure, each of which are important phases in the spiritual process. And it brings quite a lot of empathy in the room where people realize that you are in one stage or another, so that when you do construct the wave, the 12 stages are embedded there. Okay, let's maybe make a better wave. Stick in this. Wait, no. Just make it traditional. Maybe let's be creative there. Okay, maybe let's make this bigger. Need more space here. All right, so let's say this is your playlist, and say this is number 1. This would be number 2. This would be number 3. This would be number, let's say, this would be number 4. And this would be number 5. Let's say 6 is here. 7. Let's put number 8 here. And this would be number 9, this confusing part. And then this is number 10, 11, 12. Okay, so now we have it mapped out. This is what the music actually, sorry, this is what the music looks like. And you can look at this from a psychological, spiritual, or biological sense. That you can map out literally like chemistries, circuitries, like brain waves, like neurotransmitters, hormones, and the mindsets, the stages of life people go through. Okay, so it's actually quite elegant and beautiful. So when people call it inner dance, this is inner dance, the classic inner dance. All right. So let's say, let's go more to my screen for now. Oops. Okay, the 12 stages would be there. But maybe starting off here. This is the reason why those first songs were so key. It's because we actually had a set of songs per stage, where there was song selection. Last week we talked about song selection. There were number 1 songs, number 2 songs, number 3 songs, number 4 songs. So literally, if I got, let's say, 30 songs from a person, I could easily map it out according to these, and then I might be able to map out a whole playlist in a couple of minutes. I can set that up in Logic Pro, where I can literally drag and drop MP3 files here, and I can just outline that within a whole timeline. Okay, this seems really complicated, but I could just drag a song here, drag a song here, drag a song here, and I would really just be following the 12 stages. Yeah, the 12 stages. So let's look at what it could look like. I'm hoping that I have the actual songs in my laptop, but just to demonstrate how it could work. Let's see. Well, let me look for an old file. Yeah, this is something I wrote like a really long time ago. I'm happy to just send this over. But it's really old, and I'm not sure how much this actually would apply, because it's just so old. But anyhow, let's look at it. So satisfaction, let's start with that. Okay. We ease people out of like thinking process. Uh, Actually, maybe this isn't the way to go. Let me just work in the screen. I don't like reading notes like that. It's not a good way. All right, let's stay here. Could you see my screen? Could someone make a sound and say yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So let's how do we do this? Let's so many technicalities here. Let's maybe use this blank space that we can make definitions. Let's start with number one. So satisfaction is the opening. You need to make sure that people are trusting so that when they lay down, they need to be like, okay, you know, they can't, you can't open the space without the element of trust and safety and enough context for them to know why they are there. They need to be present. They're not thinking about back home at work, you know, some kind of deadline or schedule. You know, like there needs to be just you know, just being there, just being okay. So let's say were we to look for a particular song, that would be satisfaction. Okay, here we have some suggestions here. Sacred Ground or Island in the Sun. So let's look for Island in the Sun. I didn't actually have a lot of these. It's just that someone from Australia came here early this year and gave me copies of these old songs, a lot of which I don't use anymore. So I always use this track to open the space because I really like the way it you know, empties out people. I'm just gonna skip through song elements. And so traditionally all over the world, when people open this space, it's always deep. It would have these delta elements that are relaxing, that are opening, you know, that are expanding. So that they're just there, it's opening, it's creating that trust space where they know they are supposed to be here. All right, now let's go to the next. Let's just try to use this. Okay. No, it really doesn't work. Still need to keep going into this back and forth. Okay, so let's say trust is clear enough. It's a simple concept. You are relaxing them and opening them up. Let's go to number two. So dissatisfaction. Going back to the map, okay, you can see here the energy begins to rise. This shouldn't, in fact, be so high up, but okay, let's say depends on your style. Dissatisfaction then would be a movement from satisfaction towards helping people to be aware that maybe they aren't actually that satisfied, that they are holding tension in the mind and in the body, that there are emotions hiding. Could be anger, it could be, or there could just be energy that needs to move, that is static or stable, that may need to start moving through. So basically what you're looking for is a kind of build up. You want to start building up slowly, maybe from point 1 to point 2, from point A to point B. All right, so let's look at what dissatisfaction might sound like back here. Okay, here are some of my maybe sabadhi. I don't know how you say that. So you're looking for something that will have a slow buildup of energy. Okay, so imagine you were coming from that really slow, relaxing space, but now you're going to stir the soup. You're going to create a little bit of tension in the room. But it can't be too much. It needs to activate slowly, especially if you have newcomers in the room. They've never been there before. So it needs to be like a gentle sliding into something a little bit more active. And it's really up to you what wave would work. It took me a long time to find the perfect elements that I needed in specific songs. So when you listen, you have like the percussion or the drum coming in quite slowly. You still have the cello or the violin in the background, which are string instruments, and you have like a kind of arpeggio set of notes that are beginning to build up as well. Oops. The rhythm isn't too fast. It's more theta-ish, not like building up to something alpha, but still quite relaxed. Okay, so that would be your number 2. So let's go back to the screen. If I'm drawing in the screen, like right now, and it's not working, you can't see it, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep going. So let's work on the threshold. Threshold is here. It's really important to visualize. It's the peak point in the first wave. Okay. Now the threshold is the energy of I'm sick of it. I've had enough. It's the stage before people let go or release. So it's basically technically still dissatisfaction, but at a higher level where you can extend the possibility of people becoming aware of the tension in the body. So here you can build. You can build up, knowing that you would release this at a certain point. Okay, like in life, this would be, let's say, I don't like my job anymore. I want to quit. I want to divorce. I don't want to be with you anymore. I want to move from this place. It's like it could be a crisis point. It could be a critical moment in life where transformation could occur because something is being shaken to a really great degree. Right. So let's look for something threshold. Okay. Let's look for maybe divine moments would be good. Let me see if I have that. These would be bad examples now because some of these are actually quite long tracks. They're quite long tracks. And what I used to do, because we didn't have these DJ apps yet, is I would literally just jump from song to song. So let's say we were still at Sabadi. Let's say we were here. And then what I would do is in mid-song, I would literally just jump from song to song in a very abrupt way. And then we literally would just jump to that in the most clumsy, abrupt way. People might be going through so much energy, but okay. So this is an example maybe of a threshold song. It's still slow. So when I choose this could actually serve as number 2, because when you look at the the length, it says 9 minutes. This is a really long track. So if I start really slowly with something like this, it does have enough number two elements. It definitely wouldn't be number one. It's a little bit too intense, unless you're working with an advanced group. So this goes up a whole height of tempo that traditionally for a lot of people, it becomes quite a lot to take in. Okay. All right. So that's number 3. Let's go to number 4 now. Number 4 is this is throwing stuff out. It's throwing out the garbage, throwing out the shit, the mierda, the merde. It's pretty much here. It's really easy to visualize it when you look at the graph. It's when the energy starts to go down. So at this point, because let's say number 3, which is threshold, you rocked the boat, you shook things up.
We still see the black screen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Can you see it now? No. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So I think I don't think we missed that much. So let me repeat some of this. So number 3 was the peak point, right? And then you start to go down here because you now can release because you shook things up. A lot of people would associate like building things up is the same as release. It doesn't need to be, or maybe definitively it should not be. So number 4 would be the purge, like a lot of you know what the purge is like. It's say you go to an ayahuasca ceremony. That's when you start to puke out maybe the apple that Adam ate in the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis in the Bible. It's the illusion. It's like the judgments, the judgments, the emotions, the projections. All of these start to come out of the body, come out of the soul, the mind. So people would start to cry at this point. They would start to scream. Crying would be maybe the thing. Okay, we could go into concepts, but it's really easier to listen to the concept. So what did we have here? These aren't good ones. I don't know. Let me see. Let me from top of mind. Okay, let's like this one would be. This is by George Harrison, the Beatle.
Isn't it a pity? Now, isn't it a shame how we break each other's heart?
So you can see like in this stage, there's a lot more heart. There's a lot more emotive quality. And that's really the case in point. When you build something up, and then when you lower the vibration, you slow things down, whether you put on an emotional song or not, when you build things up, higher tempo, higher frequency, more energy, when you tone it down, when you lessen the energy, usually purgation or a release actually starts to happen just by way of the contrast or the movement from fast to slow. But yeah, you could just experiment with. I'm sure you have a lot of these in your okay, we might bring up similar songs that's like this later on because kind of release still happens in different stages. But for now, okay, let's just go for one song per example. Now, disintegration is interesting. What is that? All right, so when you look at this, let's clean up. It's not doing it. That's why. Okay, there. This is number 5. We're now in number 5, and it's right here at the bottom. So if you
We don't see the
It's a
screen.
black screen in front.
oh, okay. One day I need to figure out why this is the case. Stop share screen. Okay. So I was pointing out that number 5 is right here at the bottom. So if you were in the process last week, you would remember at least that we took up the sleep stages that you had. Actually, like the sleep stage would look more like this. And maybe this would be more mixed up. This is REM. I made a differentiation between the purple and the black, whereby the black would be the playlist, and then the purple would be the actual stages of sleep from N1, N2, N3. The reason why it's different is people aren't really going to sleep yet when they lay down. You're just enacting the journey into the dream state, so that for you to be able to bring them into the process, you need to lower the energy into delta mode in the beginning, in that satisfaction into the dissatisfaction stage, in order to get them to lower whatever wakefulness they might have been in at that time of the day. So anyway, the thing I wanted to point out is non-REM 3 is here, which is slow wave sleep. So this would coincide with number 5 in the 12 stages, where you would drop the energy after the satisfaction threshold after purgation. Now that you built the energy up and people had released through emotion, through body, it could be even just the body movement. They don't have to be crying. Then when you drop the energy, because they had purged, right? Because they had released, because you built things up slowly and then they had released. So let's say this is a person, this is a cup, and you have all these stuff inside the cup, and in the release stage, which is number 4, you now have emptied the cup. So that would just be more like here in number 5. The cup is empty, and you need to respect that. You need to enact that emptiness here, which should be number 5. So that's really when you slow things down, which is slow wave sleep, synonymously. Clean this. Just cleaning this up for the next time we go back here. All right. Where were we again? So we're now at number 5, disintegration. Okay, so this is probably my all-time favorite. So I find that really important. Notice the sharp drop. So let's say if we were trying to construct a movement, let's go from something intense so that you can see what contrast means. That's the drop. So you can even do that abruptly in the middle. And people would move from something personal to something universal. They would move from like intensity into just this very clear space. But be wary that when you do the drop from number 5 to number 6, it's actually possible that they would go through more emotion. That's okay. It's still representing a process of clear, empty, disintegrated space where there's a chance to be nothing. People might float off into space. They would just become the cosmos. They would just become empty. They would become the energy field. They could go back to the womb. Okay, so there you have it. That's number 5. A lot of people, a lot of facilitators don't realize that there's something quite important in going back to starting point from there. And so when we mentioned the word awakening, which is number 6, you would think that awakening would be number 1, but actually that's where maybe a real awakening can happen, because you brought them back. Now they're almost like a baby. And because they've emptied out, they have undergone the first death. So only now maybe a kind of birth, an awakening could happen. So coming from that deep, dark space in number 5, you can now start to raise the vibration in a more authentic way. Maybe there's a sense of a new person arising. So here's where you might look for something uplifting, like you're there to bring about an awakening state. Not too much. It's like very, very slow, because this will be followed by the illumination. In the awakening, there could still be questions people are asking. They just came from that really intense moment of satisfaction into threshold, into purgation. And then after emptying, there would still be the remnants of what they had gone through, but there's something new, something fresh to rise. So you want to maybe support that sonically, like through sound, through music. So it could be in the awakening. Say, okay, something positive. Let's say let's try white man's burden. No, I don't like that. Yeah, this is just so old that I may not use some of these songs. I'm trying to think of something slow. No. I'm kind of lost. I don't know what to put on. Maybe Always Forever Now. It's a little bit too much for, this is too much. I don't know. I'm tempted to put this on, but this would actually be number 8 for me. Yeah, maybe something like this. Maybe let's interchange this. This would be awakening. So imagine they just came from that womb space, that empty space, that darkness that they've been in. So here's maybe you can put your spiritual songs, your new age, like shanti type music. And this is a bit interesting because it could be synonymous still with a disintegration, but I do find that there's something busy here that's a lot more activity. Don't know if I have it, but DNA, say, do I have the DNA activation thing? No, I don't. Anyway, I think you guys get the point anyway. It's a simple concept. So actually, let's just go straight into illumination because you get the point that you're supposed to keep building things up now. Maybe in the illumination, this is where you start getting answers to some of the questions that might have been asked. Let's put in always, forever. Now, this might be, I don't have it. Let's look for, yeah, some of these Banco de Gaia songs. This is very, very general. It's just like energetically above the awakening. I'm not putting in so much emotion here at this stage. I'm really just granting more life, more vitality, more energy in preparation for the stages that are still to come. You know, that building stamina so that they can last the long road to wherever it is that they're going to. This is one of my favorite artists, by the way, originally. It's called Banco de Gaia. I don't know if you're familiar with. They have this album called Farewell Frankenstein. Saturn Return is something you can use for number 2, number 3. It could still be usable for number, I think we're number 7. Yeah. Just anything with vitality, with energy. You can see like that really slow, super slow build up. Okay, when you have a song that's this long, you can see it's about 10 minutes long. If you don't want to get too busy with having to skip songs, you can literally just put something like this on. And that first part could be the awakening stage already, because there's a build-up. Very slow build-up. And then over there's quite a lot of vitality and energy towards the end. And you can see maybe there might be certain stages where you would put more vocals or language in, as opposed to some of the elements that are better just instrumental. Okay, let's go to the next. Where are we at? Okay, let's go to the confusing one. This is the confusing one. You must be wondering, why does number 9 look like that? It could very well be like a lot more chaos is happening over there. Oh, no, sorry. That's, where are we? No, sorry. We are in Yeah, we're number 8. So yeah, we're not yet at number 9. We're not yet confused. So thank you so much. Number 7 would have been illumination, where you would be getting answers to questions. Let's call that, let's say, maybe let's call that uh, trying to make it go away. Let's call that insight. So let's say you received insight that there were these messages that were appearing here in number 7. Like you were getting messages from the universe, from the mother. You were downloading, you were channeling like insight. And because you are gaining that, then you will be, or they will be tempted to embody or enact that. They would want to choose that, to become that which they see, to earth that which is coming from the heavens. So choice for me would simply be choice. So maybe you want to strengthen that, and that literally would be just building up the energy in a very strong way. Say trying to remember this particular track in my mind, but I don't. This is just all wrong. I wouldn't put those there. Let's see. Strengthening. Okay. Trying to remember this Vangelis song. I think it's something to do with that. No. I'm so bad at this. I haven't used the 12 stages in a long time. Okay. What do I use? Maybe Indu would be a good one. It's just something strong. Looking just for something strong. You make it stable, like something constant, something strong. Like the stage is all about reinforcement, like getting strong, strengthening. They came from, like the release, like something dark. Okay, that should be basic enough. So now we're at the confusing stage. And I actually liked what I probably wrote years ago. Instead of success, what I wrote was strengthening. Even though like I just used strengthening for number 8. There would be this duality or dichotomy. You would literally be exposing people to duality or dichotomy. So that's the confusing part here, the chaos that you will bring them into. So why is that? So let's say you presented them with a chance to receive messages from number 9. Let's say messages appeared number 7, sorry, and they're enacting the messages here now. Because most people are in many layers of dualism, certain stages of right and wrong, good and bad, light and dark, hot and cold. The point in the journey is to get to this point, this stage of oneness. And before they get to that, you want to make sure that all duality is felt, is considered, is looked at. So you're about to take them into a roller coaster ride, and this doesn't need to be like one song. This could be a whole bunch of emotions, interwoven into other emotions, where you would allow people to rise and fall simultaneously or sequentially. So let's look for something like something that can just break people down. Say, this one is just one of the saddest songs I've ever encountered.
We think it's the end. No. It's another beginning. Another beginning. It's knowing that you're loved.
Another one that I would have used in this stage is this one is an Eric Clapton. Here's where like words would be quite useful. It would touch people's hearts.
Way 2 miles to the dusty street, and about half a mile to the or 7 years. All I know is since you've been gone, feel like I'm drowning in a river, drowning in a river of tears.
So there's just a lot of like solitude, like a sense of aloneness or loss or grief. So it's still, when you think about it, it's actually still a reenactment of what they've gone through in the earlier stages. I hope you can see the screen. You're still taking them into a deeper level of the threshold, the purgation. But here, this is where they are approaching that from the point of view of having come also from the awakening and the illumination. So at that point, maybe you're intermixing some of these emotions with something lighter, something strong. So they are able to go back and forth, getting up, falling back down, getting up, falling back down, only to bring them into a sheer exhaustion that is the number 10. Now, this is one of the most mysterious stages, okay? The dark night of the soul. Like, who came up with that anyway? For Spanish-speaking people out there, it's Saint John of the Cross, or Juan de la Cruz. I might have talked about this in the last Zoom call, but there's more understanding here. It's a Spanish saint, so it's San Juan de la Cruz. And he came up with this term called the dark night of the soul. And according to Juan de la Cruz, it is only in going through the dark night of the soul that one can actually achieve the state of oneness and non-duality. So John of the Cross, yeah, so this is described by many to be, we don't need his name anymore. The dark night of the soul is pretty much people going within. It's maybe taking all the possible sources of energy that may have been a source of dependence from outside, and in the frustration people have gone through, now the only source is the I. I cannot run to anywhere else that's outside. That could be like the bank, the company, the family, all the possible addictions that are externalizing. This is where an internalization would happen. Like I am unable to find happiness from the outside. I must go within. That is the only space that can reveal true answers. So you can see here, just like number 1, number 5, number 10 similarly is delta, kind of delta space or delta energy. So you once again would drop. You notice that you have 4 drops, number 1, number 5, number 10, number 12. But number 10 might be your most extreme drop. Okay, so let's look for examples. Where are we now? Number 10. Pianology is a good example. It's not exactly all delta, but there's something about the slowness of something like this. Just by way of contrast, because they went through a hero's journey, just slowing things down. So it could be this slow piano. Could be still like, you could still repeat maybe certain things that you've used before. It's still quite effective. So I like this particular one. It's just dark. And this is that time you see people just crawling into a fetal position, like going back to the womb. And you would come to them, you would either hold them, you would put the blankets on them. They're hiding, they're shrinking, they're going back to the source. Okay, so that's number 10. We're getting close, we're almost there. So now we're at number 11, like finally, okay, we've arrived. Here's where you can set them free, okay? To be who they are now one. They have just died in this dark night, and now they are in the state of oneness. And this could be anything from celebration, like triumph, like you did it, you made it to the top of the mountain. You are at your destination. You are free. You're one. Okay, so unitive state. Oh, conquest of paradise was it. Okay, so let's look at that. Conquest. It doesn't need to be that majestic. It could be a little bit too much. It depends on how deep people went. You could consider maybe what is this? How can I forget that? So this is maybe the there. So it's this is it. We all know the truth. Mhm. Yeah. So this one is just so symbolically inner dance.
I've gone far. Feel the sound. See the smiling faces that surround you. I see the goddess in you as I watch you dancing in the moonlight.
Yeah, this song particularly worked so well because the whole narrative and energy of inner dance being bound up to the Divine Mother, just those words being the peak moment. Like I see the goddess in you as I see you dance around the moonlight. This one really just worked primarily because I was using this artist so much. So I think there were 3 songs that belonged to the whole playlist construction that had a whole story or backdrop around it. Okay. So now we're at the last stage, which is number 12. So they've gone through all of these stages and now they are in the final stage. It's like the last. So it's here, it's number 12. You raise them up and then you drop them back down. It's really easy logic. It's like for one, they disintegrated and now they will reintegrate. You know, you brought them into death and now they have to piece they need to piece back together. You close as you open. It's very important that there is a closing. You must learn to close the space and you must learn to give people always enough time to do so. However long it might extend, you know, like especially if they've gone really deep and sometimes you will be limited because you need to exit the space, you rented out a space and you need to leave, but there will be moments when, okay, no, people still need to be there. But I guess in immersions and trainings, you do have more access to the space. And so you can just let people be there, you know, not to hurry to go back into words and go back into thinking, go back into thinking about what they're going to eat for dinner or going back to traffic. Let's look for how to close. Super longevity. Do I still have that? I would just end it as I started. I usually just did that. I would just play Island in the Sun once again. It's such a closing, isn't it? It's like, okay, the beach, the water, the waves. And at this point, maybe you're walking around the room and you are speaking to the bodies, like, you know, go back to source. You've been through so much. You know, you're just guiding them. Don't just use the usual yogic, okay, like go back to your breath and feel your legs. That would just personalize things. Just hold them in a congratulatory way that's supportive and recognizes the energetic spaces that they've been through. Okay, so that's the 12 stages. I can see there's a whole bunch of things happening in the chat box. Okay. Every time I activate, I can activate my ancestors. I don't control it. This is about to do both. Let's for now stay on point. Okay, let's look at some questions you have at least in the 12 stages. Looking at each stage, but also looking at it as a whole. This is a little bit clear. Are there certain things that are kind of unclear, or do you want to, like illuminate on a particular stage that you want to know more about? Could be technical as well. Any questions? Any ideas?
Well, I would have a question regarding the dark night of the soul. For me, from outside, is very different. If I have a prepared playlist, it's a given time already. So what if you have a group of people or some people, you have the feeling they're very deep into that phase and still, let's say, not ready or not, or how do you know when it's time to move on? Because if you have a predetermined playlist, it's just coming to the next song and then you move into the other energy. Or would you then somehow even do it live to expand that phase?
That's where the noise app would become particularly useful, because you would recognize or remember which sounds in the noise app would be quite deep. Let's say it could be sounds of underneath the water with the dolphins, the ocean, like a delta in the background could be, anything that is relaxing. I have one sound in the noise app I particularly use. Let me put that out. Let's see. Let me even see if it's gonna work. There's a time limit thing that just. Okay. Share screen. Here. I don't know if the sound will come out, but it's right now it's my to-go-to. Like if I'm holding space in a session, like this is what I would put on. Every time I need a break and I need a delta drop, this would be the dark night of the soul. There's this emotion that eventually comes out a couple of minutes after I play this. And then I would start to speak to the space, like that speaks to the heart, speaks to the soul. We add some things here. There, that for me is a dark night quality. So you can see what this does. Because you're not dependent on a song, when you press play, it will last for as long as you want. I think that could answer the question as well, because some of the tracks that I showed, they're not actually that long. But let's say for this group, you would like more integration to happen. Nothing too stimulating, nothing too much. So to extend the stage, then this is so liberating because you're not dependent on the artist's length. You just play it and it loops. It lasts forever. But energetically, you can feel that you can't actually keep that going. You, at any one point, you would need to shift that. There needs to be the contrast. Because you would just feel it. There's tension when you hold on to the darkness for too long. People would need to activate once again after a while. It's like a yo-yo or like a roller coaster, or like, you know, an escalator. You bring them up, but as soon as you feel the going up, you can already feel the going down on its way. But I do get you, Sigfrid, that there will be moments where you feel like, yeah, I need to hold them longer here because this is where they need to be. They need to be in that womb space.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been playing around a little bit, like with like stopping the Spotify, like putting my noise on top of it, and then stopping Spotify for a while, and then coming back and lowering the my noise, or vice versa. Sometimes even skipping some songs of the original Spotify playlist and replace them by sound, by noises.
Well, another technique would be to have two speakers and two gadgets in the room. It could be one laptop, one iPad, or one phone, one tablet, and then you can have something underneath so that it could be even quite useful, so that if someone's going through release in one end of the room and then the other room is now in disintegration, you can have two stages happening at the same time. And there could be diversity or variety and simultaneity, because you will always be in these moments where someone is laughing and at the other end of the room someone's crying, someone's laying down and just curled up in a certain position. One thing, let's say an emotion breaks out and someone is in this deep despair, wailing, crying, like purging almost too much that it's disturbing other people. The last thing you want to do is walk up to that person and stop that. You don't want to do that, because that's authentically what is happening. People worked hard to get to that level, but so as not to construct a loop, so they're not getting stuck with that emotion. They're not sticking to that trauma. The loop is just to keep going back to the same thought, the same emotion. Changing the music will change the vibration, so that whatever it was they were feeling or looking at, that will suddenly become something else. So maybe they're looking at a painful childhood experience. And then when you change the energy, there will be another angle of vision, another perspective that they may not have seen before. So instead of looking at it through the eyes of pain, suddenly there might be compassion. It could be even just what they're looking at suddenly becomes like a flower or a rainbow. And that's not a bypass. Like a lot of that would represent aspects of themselves that symbolize hope, freedom, truth, beauty. So changing the energy, changing the sound changes the energy. Changing the energy changes the the perspective, the structure. So just learning to feel this with your body and letting your body be the one to move accordingly, so that the changes would happen at the time it is supposed to happen. Jessica, you're still muted. We can't hear you.
Now,
Good. Yeah, now
Okay.
it's good.
hi, thank you for all your time. I have a question which is most technically, because I tried to work with DJ Pro, and then I realized that I can't take the Spotify songs to DJ Pro because they don't work with each other anymore. And also using my noise, it's all like for almost like live DJing, isn't it? Because I try to record the songs or to cut them and to fade them, but it only worked in recording them while I was trying something on DJ Pro. And when I integrate this into Spotify again, the quality is really a mess. So the sound really changed. And my question is there like any way, or how would you integrate like noises from my noises into a playlist, even if it was like Apple Music? Or is it possible, or can I just overlay it in the moment?
Okay, so meaning you want to pre-record using my noise as the basic sound element that would go into a playlist you're constructing, right? You want to
Yeah.
record it.
Yeah.
There are simple solutions that people have done. Like Christina, who lives here, who is from Spain, when she was still in Mallorca. The simplest solution would be to buy it doesn't need to be expensive, but there are these recorders. So let's say if you're using are you using your phone?
Or laptop. Yeah.
The laptop doesn't work so much with
Okay.
the noise app, because the only way you can generate the noise from the laptop is to put up the web pages one at a time, right? You can't change fluidly between the
Yeah,
noise.
exactly.
So if let's say you were using your phone, you had a phone, and then you can export the sound from your phone. Either you would need an adapter to change let's say the USB-C or Lightning cable into like that normal cable that would go into a recorder. It's I think it's 3.5 or 3 point something millimeter cable, and then it's these simple recorders that people even use to record voice in office meetings. So if you had a recorder that had like an input where you can record from like an external line input, if you direct that into the recorder, all you have to do is press record, and then you put anything on that you would like, and it will literally just record the thing. It's like a simple studio.
Yeah.
The thing you're trying to do with your laptop, I can understand how clumsy that is. I don't even like using DJ Pro on a laptop, because it's hard to do live, you get stuck with this big clunky machine that you can't carry around the room.
Yeah. So it would be a phone or an iPad. That would be better, right?
I
Yeah.
suggest that people invest in an iPad. It could be, I work with an iPad mini. It's cute,
Yeah.
it's small, it's not clumsy. And
Yeah.
because there's so many Bluetooth solutions, what I used to do is and it's still what we do now, we would just walk around the room with the iPad. I used to have like a carrying case where it would be slung over my neck, and then I would just work in people's bodies. And when I want to change the energy, I'd take the iPad and then I'd swipe something, and I just leave that
Okay.
alone.
Yeah, that's great, because I'm then with my laptop, and then I run around, and then I think like I have to change the music again. I run again, and that's really, it's really clumsy.
No,
But what I
it's
loved on
really
DJ,
clumsy.
Yeah, what I loved
Yeah.
on DJ Pro is like switching beats per minute and
Mm.
changing noises, because sometimes songs are too long, like 8 minutes is too long
Yeah.
sometimes, and then you can use it to change, but then there's the problem in recording it again. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just trying
It's a matter
Yeah.
of training. Like I find using DJ Pro on a smaller portable device, it takes maybe just a couple of minutes to learn, and then you already, because now you know the principles. It's
Yeah.
just they did a really good job. So if you already bought the license for DJ Pro for your laptop, you don't need to buy it again. It would just apply to your phone and your tablet instantly.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I try. Thank you so much.
All right, Josalie.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for your time and all the learnings. I had a session on Saturday, and it was very different from other sessions. They said at the end, there were two women that they passed through a lot of emotions, and they saw colors. But they were, and the two of them, one of them more, she had a lot of pain. She experimented pain, and they didn't move at all. So I had the sense like they didn't release, like they were. But and with all this information, I didn't do the playlist with the 12 stages. So I had this question myself, if I did something wrong, or if they achieved this liberation or not. And even they had doubts, like if that was normal, because for them, they passed through a lot. I just told them to trust that it was to trust, and that it was perfect for them what happened, and not to compare it with other people's sensations. But now that I've seen all this information, that I didn't do the playlist with the 12 stages, I did it with my intuition and the knowledge that I had. So is it possible to do something wrong, or to people to get stuck in an emotion and not have this pure, or not to come to the end of this feeling right, or this healing?
Okay, this is a really good question to take us into depths and layers around what the 12 stages can do. Now, I try not to be too strict. I try not to be too German around the 12 stages, whereby the chronology isn't strict. Like a release can happen after an awakening, or it can happen before an awakening. It is also possible that there could be 2 or 3 stages that are happening at the same time. The list is there just to help people recognize that there could be systematicity to the process based on maybe your intuitive or logical understanding of how a human being functions. So maybe here's an easy way to understand how to work around your beautiful question. For some people who are trapped, who are trapping energies inside, whether it be thoughts, beliefs, emotions, is it possible for them to achieve courage without getting in touch with their fear? Is it possible to achieve pure joy without allowing them to be honest with their depression or their despair? Is it possible for them to achieve true forgiveness without letting them getting in touch with their anger or their resentment? Is it possible to have an experience of birth without actually having have died? So when you take things in this way, like understanding that we might have created our experience on earth that is filled with so much darkness, so that we can construct and experience light from the contrast. So I think an emotional mapping could be interesting for a lot of people, because technically, okay, an experience usually would come in the form of like an emotion. For a lot of people, it's the experience would be emotional. For some people, the experience would be very, very physical. For a lot of people, the experience would be energy. And for other people, it would also arrive as information. Now, these are different types that could exist in some people, although for some, there would be more of a dominant dimension. It could be some people are more prone to insight. They will have visions. Some people, they won't see anything. They'll primarily be in the movement of the body. So our challenge is usually we have to talk to everyone all at the same time. The whole room needs to become one room. When there's 10 to 20 people in the room, you have to speak to it as one room. Even when you're trying to speak to the energy of one body, it's never just one body. It's like context, it's culture, it's all the stuff that people are bringing in. In fact, like working with one person is usually more complex than working with a whole room. It could also be the opposite, but in a way, there's more complexity with working with just an individual as opposed to bringing into synergy multiple energies that become one, because there's a supportive mechanism in that collective space that you can tap into as an energy source, and that you can build on. You know, people actually help each other when they're all laying down in that trusting space. But here you bring up emotion. I don't necessarily try to bring up emotion. Emotion is just something that automatically comes up, so that when it does, you would want to support and hold it. And that's maybe sometimes and often where physical presence is maybe more important than just the music. When they tap into that and it feels like something wants to break through, wants to break free, like a touch or a presence is more powerful or profound than the music itself. But sometimes you may not be as available because you're trying to work the whole room out. But it's also true that when you work with some people, you're also working in the whole room, because when a release happens, because you were able to go to where that is, let's say, rupturing, like erupting, disrupting, interrupting. But let's say rupturing, there's like an opening there. Then when other people feel that that's happening, it could be like screaming, crying, it could open other people up as well. But then my advice is not really to get stuck there. Allow it enough to be that particular stage, and then start to move them through a whole different dimension so that they can look at the same thing differently. That usually is what helps. That's what brings about a kind of satisfaction for people, that they didn't just get in touch with the pain process or a trauma, that they were able to look at it from a different angle of vision. But this you would learn through practice. It's not conceptual. You really just need to work with bodies, and the bodies would teach you much more than, you know, you teach the bodies.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Sames.
Thomas, du bist dran.
Sorry, yeah, I thought I'm not on. Hi, I have one question. Listening to the 12 stages and the music examples you gave us, so how, practical question for me, how do I choose? Can I fully trust my, not my taste, but my intuition here? So if I feel like, yeah, that could fit to stage 10, then, you know, and it's lowering or it's increasing the energy, then I I can, so to say, select this and play it, or should I do this more also in a more thought way, you know?
Yeah, a more conscious way or automatic
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
What coming from, were you present last week?
Unfortunately not. So
Okay.
I still have to watch the first video.
Okay.
Sorry
There
for
might
that,
be
yeah.
something useful there where you want to be ready. Like you don't want to have that energy of frustration of being like stuck in that moment. You put yourself in that situation where you're holding the space and you realize that you're not ready, right? So how to prepare for that? It does pay to be ready. Let's say you need to give a presentation in a company. You don't want to just drink the whole night and walk in without having your notes. So systemically, what you can start out with is number one, having access to those sound elements that you know would speak to the bodies. So last week we and when you go into the call, then yeah, you learn about how to know where you can find it. We talked about certain places on the internet where you can just download. This is called song selection. And what would be then the next is how to store them where. So when you choose your program, it could be as simple as Spotify, or I don't really know Spotify so well because I don't use Spotify so much. But you what you need is a categorization system. You need to, you know how like Windows works, you have the icons and then it's like a folder, and then you would have possibly like elements in the folder or folders within the folder. So let's say learning about the 12 stages, there could be a way in which maybe you assign possible songs to that particular stage. Because a part of us, we're technically all artists here. We don't like getting bored, and we don't want to lock people in too much with certain songs that just keeps repeating. Otherwise, they will also loop within specific traumas. You know, it's very manipulative to get stuck with the same songs. So what you want is a certain capacity for growing. So let's say start out with maybe 2 choices or 3 choices for number 1, maybe more choices for some of the other more complex ones that deals with certain emotions, certain like enlightening stages. So if you know how to categorize that, either in Spotify, either in any music playing device that you have, you at least know where to get them. Because in the heat of the moment, it can get really intense. And the last thing you want is to be scrolling down a very confusing list. You can see where growth means your capacity to expand. And if you have a careful like a system, which is really categorization, you know where to insert things. You can even just switch things around. So, okay, this didn't work the last time. Maybe that would actually go better there. No one will tell you though what would be better for any particular category, because the situation is always dynamic. It belongs to the culture, and even within a culture, you have subgroups. You have like, let's say, gender, age groups. You have, and the situations will always be different. So I think what you want is to balance stability and chaos. Chaos would be. Yeah, so you see what I mean. It's actually
Yeah.
quite simple.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So a system helps, and then to try it out, so to say, the songs that I chosen for phase 1, 2, or 3, and to just learn, okay, did it work or not? And maybe the next time, if it feels like could be a similar situation, I can try a new song or just the same song because it's a different age or, you know, different situation. So and that is where the intuition comes then in, or my gut feelings. You know,
The intuition usually actually hits you from point zero. So for people who do this work, you already have a kind of knowing on what would work and what would not work in the journey process. You know, you literally just hear certain songs in the radio that's not going to work. It's for radio. It's too much rock and roll or pop. Reggae generally won't work in like an in-depth. It's too relaxing. Jazz, most jazz won't work. But there are certain deep musical genres that would work. So it could be quite fun to start shopping in the long term, so that if you're doing this work, you want to be ready and you don't want to depend on other people's music, because you want to personalize it. You want it to be something, you know. So when you do make a choice, there's a lasting intimacy on getting to know that music, because it will be the channel that brings people into all kinds of deep spaces. So you like a song is almost like a person to me. It's like I know this really well. If I put that on, I know the energies and emotions in it. So, you know, one of the scary things about playlisting is literally choice, because in this day and age, there's too many choices, you know, like at your age, you remember the time you go to a supermarket, you buy shampoo, there's 2 choices or 3 choices, but you know, like, and you turn on the television, you have 2 channels or 3 channels. Right now, like, how many are there? So it's such a scary thing for a lot of people to limit the unlimited. But I think that's a process of maturation, that when you state that, okay, I'll stick to this because that can hold like a lot. But with that systematicity, from my experience, after maybe 2 or 3 years of working with DJ Pro, when I still was working with the basic, you remember the old iPhones or iPods that didn't have the apps yet, and there was just a music player, like the kind of iTunes icon. The only choice you had was to hop from song to song. And we were stuck back then with this situation where the song lengths were static. They're not changing. So if you already, this is too long. You know, people have already moved on and it's still stuck with the song. You had no other choice but to jump to the next song really, really abruptly. Now we don't have that anymore. Even in Spotify, I think you can easily move. It fades in and out when you change songs. What I'm saying is, when I moved to DJ Pro and some other apps, I was able to expand from just 30 to 50 songs that I was scrolling down to about 100 or 150, because you can arrange the foldering mechanism. So I think it's really important to understand the medium or the channel, which some people might call a program or an app, because of the user interface that might give. Because when you're stuck in the live situation, you really don't have time to be toggling around. You want it to be quite fast, instantaneous, like lightning speed. So last week we talked about the importance of librarification. If I could make up a word, like creating or constructing a library, you can't just put the books there. There needs to be some kind of system of putting something in a shelf, that volume there, that book there. The library, that's where you start, rather than even the platform. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thanks a lot for this, and I will definitely watch the first video and then get the whole picture. Thank you.
Yeah, they belong together. Okay, Jennifer, it's your turn.
Hello. You know, with the phases of sleep, alpha, theta, mu, can you pick songs depending on that? Do you just put alpha? Can you do that? or
Okay.
is beat to listen to?
Okay. Let me put up an image. Thank you. This is a really good question, just like last week. Okay, let me share the screen. Let me look for a brain state map, if ever there was one here. This is EEG. Okay, so yeah, you'd have something like this, which would have qualities. But the problem is, okay, maybe let's just go to the internet and brain states. Let's look for images. I think what we're looking for are, no, let's go for brainwaves. Representations. Okay, let's make this big. Oh, no. Okay, let me just download it then. And then it's there. Oh, okay, didn't, it's protected. This one would be not that one too. Okay, maybe this is simpler. Maybe it's just looking for something simpler. Let's try a whole bunch of things. Just to be sure. Oh no. Let's see if they just open. Okay, I guess we can maybe try to see. Okay, I can make that bigger. But then, so I guess you can see it. So all we have are representations. It says here deep sleep, meditation, and creativity, relaxed reflection, problem solving, and heightened awareness. So all we have, Jennifer, are the representations. It will be up to you how you would interpret delta. For me, it's really like meditative music. I would put that there. Theta would be, for me, relaxing. Alpha would be kind of daydreaming. Beta would be quite intense, and gamma would be like high vibration. So beta, I would put like certain emotions that are so let me give an example of beta for me. Let's say let's look at a problem of trying to categorize a particular track. Recognizable as a 12 stage. Instantly, that could be purgation, that could be strengthening or failure. But here, if you wanted to simplify and you didn't want 12, you wanted 5 or 6 if you added mu, where would you assign sad emotion, right? Would it be more theta or alpha? So it's up to you. Let's say if you want to generalize that most delta drop, super meditative, super slow would just be there. If you want like sadness to be theta or an emotional release to be theta, that's up to you. You assign it. If you want alpha to be more, spiritual, awakening, positive, then that could be your alpha. And then beta could be more, let me see. Here's another song that's the same title, but another artist. This is just more angry, more masculine. It's more stressful, it doesn't release serotonin, oxytocin, it would be more cortisol, epinephrine. that could very well be like a beta state for you, right? Like, here's one of my most positive songs historically. It's is it even here? Here. This is from The Beach, the movie The Beach. It's a soundtrack. It's joyful, it's positive. So let's say you just agree that mostly positive, enlightening, uplifting would be alpha. Beta would be the more shaking, rocking, like rolling, intense. Theta would be more relaxing. So yeah, it's really going to be up to you, and we're glad that Mu is there, so you can add a little bit of diversity. Whatever Mu could be, it could be what, you know, looking for weird things, or you know, erratic. I always had these erratic, non-linear, non you know, things that you can just hold down. Very weird songs.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Anna.
Yes, hi, hello. Well, I was wondering if you could tell us, like, in your opinion, how many people, like, in the room do you feel comfortable working with, so you can hold and support the space in a better way, and to be able to reach everything that it's needed to reach with the consultants?
Yeah, okay. The consultant, I like that. Obviously, like too few, the less people in the room, sometimes the less powerful it is. So if I'm going to conduct a training or an immersion, I would explain to an organizer that I prefer to have a minimal number of people. So for me, an ideal process that would have both quantity and quality would be around 7 if I was alone. 5 could also be ideal. So around 5 or 7. If I was alone, I would find around 9 people to be a little bit too much. This is maybe talking about the 12 stages where I could hold the room enough that I could take them through the entire wave as deeply and as completely as possible. I think if I had 15 to 20 in a room and I was all alone, what would probably happen is some of the stages would get condensed, and I would have more generalized, you know, like things happening there. It depends on the situation though. Let's say, traditionally I would be doing most of the work. I always did have assistants, but when I say most of the work, I would be conducting the music, I would be speaking to the room, I'd also be holding bodies. So I would be constructing the wave. And if I was alone, that's not always like an easy thing. But now that there are pre-constructed playlists, then I think that would be a different situation. I think that allows us to hold more. So if you're more prepared, so let's say, okay, it really does help to support the space. So it depends on the percentage of how many people in the room are more familiar with the energy already, and then how many are like beginners, like they're new, they don't know what's happening, so you tend to obviously work harder when people are new, you have more beginners in the room, you have to work harder. If there are people who already understand the energy a lot, you don't actually need to do much. You literally just snap your fingers and they're off. They shoot off already, and you're literally just there sitting down with a cup of tea. And I'm kidding, but there were moments where I'm just sitting down, like drinking coffee or tea and just watching people go to the universe because they're already quite there. So that's unlimited. You can have 100 people in the room for all you care, and they're all going to support each other. But if you have the right tools, if you put in the hours, remember, like convergent or emergent, put in the hours, and you're prepared. Let me give one example. Let's say there's a lot of people, and sometimes you don't really have like control over this. Let's say you are lucky and unlucky enough to get invited to do a festival, which means, okay, don't know if there's going to be 30 or 60 people there, and let's say you're alone. That is going to pose quite a challenge because you cannot touch 60 bodies enough to bring that support mechanism. So you would end up using what you have. So the first thing you need to think about beyond just preparing the music is there has to be enough supportive guidance. So you would need an effective, the most important thing in that situation is you need an effective microphone system, preferably portable, something that doesn't have the wires so that you're walking around the room carrying the wires. You want to be walking around to let people know that there's a three-dimensional space and you're not just above the crowd in a corner somewhere. So something like that, like being able to take people through the journeys. You can see why learning to DJ or learning to work with the apps is important to guide the other sensory modalities or tools that you would be able to use as beyond the sound or the music. So for example, your music quite well. Either it's pre-planned or it's being done live. You know when it's going to rise or when it's going to fall. So you need to be able to coordinate that with the stage that you're going to be speaking so that, okay, you know that you're about to enter number 3, let's say number 4. You've been through the threshold and you're about to release. What can you say? Something as simple as like, let go or surrender or, if you knew that directionality or energy was about to happen, you don't bring the energy up. You don't make it rise and you say let go. It doesn't match. Let's say if it's about to rise, it's you would have guidance. It would be like it's okay to be who you are. Go, walk the path, or something more affirming, something more directive, as opposed to something more of a point of surrender. So you know how it is when you're driving the car and you're in the driver's seat and then someone's in the passenger, someone's beside you in the back, and you hit the brakes because you know the momentum. You don't really lurch forward, but the people in the car, they do. When you're the one holding the device, if you know whether it's going to speed up or slow down, you're hitting the brakes, you're hitting the gas. The verbal cues need to match the directions of the music because of the stages that you're taking people through. So I would say as long as you can handle those waves, verbal, musical, energetic, like tactile would be touch. The number of people in the room should depend on how well you can coordinate all of that. It's really like a concert or a symphony. You need like all the, like in a symphony, you need like the different players to be enacting, and these would be the different senses that you can use. If you are doing your job right, though, because you're studying and you're in your heart, you believe in what you're doing, and people are talking to each other, and then they're just gonna keep bringing in people. They're bringing in their mom, their coworkers. You don't have control over that, so you a part of you will not want to say no. So that's really where you start developing tools. So let's say, okay, there's a lot of people in the room. Now that I know that simply extending the right arm can help open up bodies, so that I don't need to try to keep pushing bellies to try to make movements come out. If you're not stuck with just wanting movements to happen, extend people's right arms. So that frees you up. You can work with 20 people in the room, everyone's right arms are extended. And then while you're at it, you're bringing a small bottle of essential oil. So you rub that, even them hearing you rub your palms already kind of activates space through presence. You walk in a certain way, they can hear your footsteps. It's not too jarring, but it helps them to have a three-dimensional kind of GPS system around the room. And then you bring that olfaction sense, the sense of smell. And that activates the temporal lobe. That activates the subcortical regions of the brain. So all those things happening together, you can extend your capacity to hold more. But if you're the type of person who really wants to work your way into people's bodies, then if that's the thing that you want to do, you want to get in there, you want to activate people, you're working within this Kundalini concept, you're trying to make people's bodies move, then you may not be able to handle a room if that's your intention. If you move into another intention of getting people to journey inside, then if the movement doesn't matter as much to you, what would be the dominant would be the context, the meanings, the meanings that would initiate where people would go. So there would be like a lot less pressure like in you to achieve a certain outcome, especially that's physical. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have like 4 more questions, but maybe I can email or something to you.
Okay. Let's give you another one.
Yeah. For example, you were talking about the making people move. So I do feel sometimes that if people start moving alone, it's because their body needs to release some energy or work in that way. But I do not like to be like stimulating a lot, because I feel that they start working more on their physical body, and they do not go inside, and they don't have more insights or reflections and everything. So what do you think about that part, about like those videos where you can see people like worms on the floor, and
well,
is
if
that
people
work, or they're
well,
really
if people are moving already, then leave them alone. It's already amazing that they're working in themselves. That means it frees you up, because it's a validation that someone's already in a process. It's actually quite good, because then you would get a sense, okay, where are some people kind of left behind and are stuck? Because you can tell this one's stuck in her head. This guy is overthinking. He's worried about a problem at work. So then you do what you can over there. So it's really just addressing the gaps. The movements are quite nice, actually, in that way that there's self-activation happening. So that really doesn't need stimulation, because I normally respect the movements that are happening on their own. If it's coming from an independent space, then allow the energy itself to take that through. Yeah, okay. So let's move on to Kadia. You there? Bye. Take your time.
Oh, hello. Sorry. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. For me, when I'm doing the inner dance now, I'm realizing that when I add some little instruments there and there while I'm playing your music, people really like it. So I've been gathering some couple of things like that. Don't know if you can hear it. Some small stuff that I add on while I'm playing the music. And I find it quite interesting sometimes the song that is accompanying the music. So this is, sorry, I just wanted to say that. And the other thing is, this is completely different, you know. I wanted to know, I'm looking to change direction in my career right now. This type of music that we are playing, do you think we can play that with people who are going to end of life?
Yeah, totally. Like, I have this beautiful story that happened quite recently. It was in London, where there was this the inner dance facilitator in London. There's a lot of them, but she's maybe the most active one. Her mother was dying actually for a really long time. Siegfried, you remember her? She's Lisa, and she was already talking about her mother going through Alzheimer's. So it was this year only where her mother was dying, but it just wouldn't happen. So what took place was, I think, like, the family was just holding on, and the mother couldn't let go. So it's quite interesting that the inner dance has always been there in birth, but in this moment, Lisa, while the brothers were having lunch at the hospital canteen, Lisa had this moment alone with the mother, and she put on the playlist, and literally that was it. The mother just used the sound to just go. So it's like a death doula moment with the music. I want to touch on the instruments first because I think this is salient. This is important. This is interesting. So I think instruments are interesting in key. Let's call them analog ones, like instruments as in these instruments that you can hold in your hand. So when you accumulate them, I think it's important to also just realize what am I affecting when I use them. So I don't remember what you call the one that you showed me, but yeah, that's quite common. Like a lot of facilitators use that. So
To be honest with you, I don't know the name of them. It's just like when I went shopping, I find some of them I've been playing around. And this is like some.
oh, I love that. Yeah, shells. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like some shells.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
what I do sometimes is just like playing with sound like this. And
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
moving with
Totally.
it, you know.
Yeah, like make noise with it. Okay, so the system I feel that's relevant in not just choosing a song or an app, but choosing an instrument has to do with brain, breath, and blood. Okay, so the more percussive instruments would affect more the heart, the heartbeat, the heart rate. Those ones that you showed, they can affect more the brain waves or the breathing patterns. You know, like texture, right? Especially the other one, the one with the shells, that can affect both brain waves and breathing. It can just extend or expand because it's not about the rhythm, right? It's about a lot of things happening at the same time. That one that you're holding, that can still be rhythmic. It's not just tap, it's like you do that. So you add more texture to the space, like harmonic and inharmonic textural percussive sounds. So for example, like that one is still rhythmic, right? But let's say yeah, that's nice too. That would be more brainwave activity. Do you have yeah, so those are mostly the same, but let's say if I bring up, let's say, a wind instrument, like something you can blow, like a flute, or then a bowl, right? You have a
Okay.
bowl. So that would be more long lasting, like either wind or that one, yeah, something so they do different things. So the effect would be either you're affecting the heartbeat. A lot of the percussion ones do that, but then the other ones can affect the breath and the brain waves, and also the endocrine systems like hormones and maybe even neurotransmitters.
Okay. So this one and this one would be similar to something. This would be the same type of thing.
Get something a little bit deeper as a sound. That one's a little like flimsy. Get something a little bit more resounding. Look for like that, something a little bit like heavier or bigger.
Okay.
But they're good starting points. Yeah. Like okay,
Yeah.
great. It's super fun. Play.
Thank you.
Be creative. Amazing. All right, Karina.
Hola, Pai, gracias por estar, por aclararnos, por enseñarnos. Bueno, yo iba a hacer una pregunta parecida. Iba a preguntar por los instrumentos, porque yo también los uso, a veces sobre el cuerpo. Pero bueno, agradezco que ya lo contestaste. Dos preguntitas. Una que tengo, suelen preguntar en el grupo, y ahora le pasa a mi hija, que queda como activada. Ella es profesora de yoga y cuando se acuesta en la relajación se empieza a activar el cuerpo. Bueno, cómo ayudar en ese caso. Y lo otro, si pasa en tus sesiones, en general como que se trabajan 2 o 3 temáticas en las devoluciones, la gente cuenta que vivencian lo mismo. Entonces, o un grupo tiene experiencias de útero, otro grupo tiene visiones similares. Esto de que la energía se conecta, si pasa y si hay alguna explicación o nada. A mí me parece maravilloso.
Nope. I'm not sure my translation worked so well. Now, starting with your daughter, I'm not sure what the question was. Are you saying she is too activated, or I wasn't sure what you were asking around your daughter. Because it sounds like it's already quite amazing. Yeah, if someone can help.
Well, what she meant is that daughter, she's a yoga teacher, and when she's at like Shavasana, she activates really easily. So what happens when people reactivate after some sessions with easiness?
Is it within Kundalini process or just within yoga during Shavasana? It just comes out automatically.
Just automatically, like in a yoga.
Okay.
Depends.
Okay. So when it comes to yoga, wait, I need my pen.
Maybe one thing adding to that, Pai, there's some people asking what happens if people keep activated or activate themselves after the session, not only in the session, but also after the time.
In many ways, there's actually little that we can do. You don't want to close an opening once it's there. The reason why some people would go into activated experiences after yoga is because the sympathetic and the parasympathetic are co-releasing with each other. And so if people are going through that, then it's a good thing. It's amazing that that level of transformation is happening. Like what we have to realize is a lot of these experiences people are having, they won't be there forever. Like if I lay down in my own journeys, nothing's going to happen to me because I'm already stable. But 20 years ago, I would be all over the place. You know, I'd be the loudest person in the room, but me and my wife, we lay down, like our bodies don't move. My body hasn't been moving for years because I'm already quite stable. So while the activation is there, it's something that's meant to be enjoyed. And if it is meant that people can go deeper into it, it's a beautiful opening. Okay, can I get help from on the second thing that was shared, translation wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't, Karina, pregunta si
Yes.
la segunda pregunta que hice.
I can say, Karina was asking, in general, in group sessions, it happens to her and also to many others that seem to be in a group like themes which are correlating, like a bunch of people having the same uterus kind of experience, or they have same visions or similarities. So is the explication that the energy is kind of vibrating the same in the group? So that's the reason. Anyway, she likes it very much, but just ask.
It's amazing, yeah. There's a principle called retrocausality in the inner dance process, whereby the facilitator is tapping into a theme or a message that was already there even before the process started. Meaning there's something in the situation that had already happened even before it has happened. And the facilitator is the one who allows that to be revealed. So we will always be listening to people saying they saw the same color, the same images, the same experiences. So so especially when you're creating, let's say you're playlisting and you are able to bring these songs together. The playlist isn't just the music. The way of touching people is part of it. You know, the words that you speak, it's part of it. You're basically taking it all from space and then you are channeling it into time. So retrocausality means you were able to expand time. So it's not linear anymore. It's like there's like a much bigger story or picture that holds all of the points in time, like all together. That's one of the roles a facilitator plays. And usually this would happen when the space holder is not overly thinking. When you're thinking too much, you won't be able to tap so much into retrocausality. Like in retrocausality, when you are, it's like you're channeling, basically. It's like you're acting something that has already happened but has not yet happened. But because you're trusting, that's really the key, the trust. Because you're trusting that which is not yet visible, you already saw it beforehand. So it's almost like a ritual or a ceremony, or even like a formality where you're doing it through the way you're moving your body. When you're trusting and you're moving your body a certain way, you are enacting something. And you don't know why you're moving in that way. So the more accurate statement is that you're being moved by the much larger message or what people might just call energy. So all the time, you will always get these validations or affirmations that you held me in a way that like I really needed to be held there in that part of my body, or you said something that I was already looking at. Like, did you know the future? How are you able to know ahead of time? It's because of your trust. You're able to expand the channel of time that is linear into like there's like this story that puts all the small stories into a much bigger story. So I think it's really beautiful what Karina is speaking. It's something we're doing all the time in the space holding process. Thank you.
Gracias. Gracias por el amor con el que nos escuchas.
Mm. Thank you. Gracias. Edward.
I wanted to ask about binaural song. Do you use them or not?
Okay, they could be interesting, especially what we experiment here would be we would put one frequency in one side and the other frequency. This is when we're doing demos anyway. I'm sure you can do that as well with larger groups. I think the concept is interesting where the brain and the nervous system and let's say the body receiving two frequencies, it would construct a third frequency. But with a playlisting system, we're doing the same thing anyway, in a less conservative way, and in a much more radical way. When you, let's say, look for your song elements or music elements, say you're not even using songs, you're using frequencies or noises. The process works when you have contrast, contradiction or paradox, opposition. And in between the polarity, you would have the tension in between. You know, as soon as you create dark, you're already heading towards the light. But as soon as you hold something bright, you're also getting pulled into the dark. They're always dancing with each other. So the process that we do works a little bit more or a lot more than binaural beats, where people would say there are certain experiences or feelings that come. The experiences we're having is a little bit wider in scope because there's contrast within binaural beats because you're still holding frequencies that are kind of like each other but are not. There's still difference there, but there's a lot of similarity. In the work that we do, we tend to hold a lot more contrast. Like we pull apart the poles, you know, like there's more spectrum, there's more scale. The more you stretch out, the more you have a combined signal in the middle. So neurologically, that combined signal is called neural frequency coupling. So that let's say you're holding delta and you're holding gamma, what you have is like more of a mu state, like a something in between where the slow and the fast will create like a third signal. Obviously, it's going to be more complex than that because you're not really holding two signals, you're holding multiple signals. But if you have clarity in something polar, the body does something automatic in the way it would create like a third space between the two spaces. So I don't use binaural beats in the normal way people refer to it, but based on the structure of how we use music, it's still binaural. It's just that it's a lot more intense and a lot more radical. You know?
And yes. What about AD song or something like this?
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's like the sound comes from different place in the
Yeah.
room or in the
Yeah. We well, we normally have multiple speaker systems in the room. Normally we have a main system, and then would have a smaller, let's say, Bose speaker I would carry around, and that would be a separate device. So that if you always, this is maybe when we're arriving at more complex levels. Let's say you're starting to experiment. It sounds like you would be the type who would experiment. So maybe you would have a Spotify or a playlist or DJ Pro in the main system, but you would have the noise app so that you can localize it with some people. Because the stuff that people end up experimenting with would be actually to place the vibration source either next to the body or in the body itself. Because let's say if you're listening to the sound, you're still, let's say, converting the mechanical waves into electricity so that it could be recognized by the auditory cortex of the brain. But when a person is laying down, they're not just using their ears anymore. The whole body becomes like a gigantic ear. So you know how like a wave would pass through the body, and it could still feel that. It could listen to that. So what I would do sometimes is I would take a speaker and I would literally just put it beside the body so that it would touch the body. You could put it on the chest, or some people even put a speaker in someone's head. It could be on top or literally there. So I think this principle that you're speaking, there's a lot of opportunity for sure, where you can have a whole bunch of small speakers. And right now, there are certain brands where you can interlock multiple speakers as long as it's the same brand. So I think intuitively, you probably know the answer, that the possibilities are endless. You have all this freedom. There's no restrictions. The more diversity, the greater the experience. Some people might find that a little bit too much. So you want to be able to acclimatize that slowly, but there are advanced practitioners that would really appreciate the noisier it gets, the more they get out of it. So just keep adding layers and see how much people can stand. And then you would literally just be shaking your head like in disbelief, like, wow, is this really happening? Or sometimes it's just when people give feedbacks that you would just get surprised. So we're all kind of spiritual scientists here. We're all researchers. Just take note of the feedbacks. That's really valuable data, so that if
Oh, now the sound seems to be gone, or the connection. Maybe while we're waiting, Edward and the others, one thing you can also do to have this multi-dimension experience, you can take one of the speakers and go around, like Pai said, well, near the body or moving it. I like to play around a lot, like also moving the speaker on top of people, around people, like circling, so that they don't know where is it coming from, the main sound. So of one speaker, the other stays there. So that might also be one of the options to stimulate differently in the room. So let's check. Can you hear me, or is it me who lost the signal of Pi? Okay. Yeah. So let's see if Pi is able to reconnect. In the meantime, so Edward, you were referring to the 8D sound technique, where you normally use a headphone and then you have the feeling the center of the sound is moving around like equalizer, but in the room. Was it that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back, by the way. I'm sorry I dropped out.
Perfect.
Satellite, I
Thank
think,
you.
wasn't working. Where are we now?
I just added something like
Okay.
I like very much to play around also with taking one of the speakers and go around, like moving the speakers while they are listening. So one from one side to the other. And I believe that has an influence also on where the perception of the room, of the space, or the source of the sound is coming from. I believe that also a further layer, but
there's a sense of position, either called the vestibular function or proprioception, so that when you change the position, it displaces the like normally people are stuck here in the prefrontal cortex, so that when you displace the energy, which you can do with the speakers, it moves the energy around, like the mind and the body is like shaped according to geometries that people hold. So when you change the positioning, either the position of the body or even the position people are used to laying down in a certain room, it changed the geometry of how they're shaping themselves. All right, Juliana, sorry, I dropped out.
Hi, bye. Thank you very much for your time. I'm bringing my question here because can be a help to everybody. The first activation I had 4 months ago, this activate like some conscience incorporation, you know. I'm an Incan, I'm from Amazonia, Brazil. And now my last activation now, activate like I start to speak the language. I start to make songs like a bird songs, and I start to draw very fast, you know. But this is activating like all the time, you know, and this happened only with the Kundalini. I never had this before, you know. I don't know if I'm a hyper activate, and it's not make me afraid, but I try to understand what's this, you know. It's like I have other person inside of me. You understand what I mean? I like someone guide me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And nobody can help me. Nobody can say anything.
Okay. Right. So yeah, this is so much there. Well, it would be hard to regress or go back to, you can't go back. Once you go forward, you're already on the way somewhere. So you may as well take it all the way through. So trust is number one, most important, as we keep mentioning the word. It sounds like you're overstimulated for sure. So why don't we put you on the sleep playlists? Try to use it at night. Ask for the best is maybe to access my Spotify account. Let me see. See if I can wait. I can maybe try to no, maybe just Siegfried would send it. Use my Spotify account. There's a whole bunch of sleep playlists there. What we could try to do is to start to allow your brain and your nervous system to send out inhibitors. There could be helpful chemicals that helps to balance if you're experiencing too much of the stimulants, because it's not just the energy, it's also the chemistry that would match the energy. The spirit would need to match in the body what's happening like out there. But at the same time, I think if you are like channeling and you have these gifts, and that's partly coming from your culture, then
Yes.
It's saying something. So channeling would also be channeling it to others. So that's why facilitation is actually super helpful. If you can find a way to share your work, if people can understand the context more, partly spiritual, also partly scientific. Just so it doesn't go all the way out there. Like too much spirituality would sometimes also not help people take responsibility. Science could still be partly psychology, where you want people to own anything that comes up as a part of them, because if they see you going into something intense, they might also get either scared, or they also might get overstimulated. So, like when I first came from my experience on the island, where I became energy and I was always moving around, I learned how to normalize it. So for example, let's say I'm in a public space. Let's say I'm in a McDonald's because I'm with my friends there, or I'm in a bus or a train. I used to be quite weird, because when people looked at me, I would be making all these weird
Yes, this
motions.
happened with me today on the
So what I
street,
did,
and I'm so afraid.
and then they would look at you. So what I did was I
Yeah.
found, like, if you start to understand the body system a little bit more, there are these entry and exit points of energy. So I don't know if this is happening to you yet, but there are ways to move the body. I don't know if you can hear it, but my body makes sounds. So I have a way of moving my body in a way that can just release the energy. And when it's released, it would feel good. So now I have these
Can control.
yeah, I can control, meaning it's not random, sporadic. I can like hold it, and I can use that when I'm working with people. So find the movements that feel like they're yours. And actually, from the South American tradition, there are traditions from the Mayans, the Incans. This is a long time
Yes.
ago, where they actually were able to normalize certain patterns of the body that can hold the energy. So I think now this old tradition is coming back or emerging, and it's power. It's definitely like power. So how to normalize that? I think a lot of what I said should already be helpful. Use it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Don't hold it back, because it's very special. It's just that the problem isn't us, it's the world. There's a difference between natural and normal. Now you're experiencing being natural, but you live in a world where you're supposed to be normal. A lot of
Yes.
people think it's good to be normal, but no, it's to be natural. So that's the problem.
Yes, because the
You're
last
becoming
class I
Mm.
had, everybody was looking at me, like I was different, like I was not normal, and I don't know what to do, because I could not control myself, it was
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
understand that, even the
Yeah.
facilitators. So I was thinking, if I have a class and if this happen with people there too, so
Mm.
I know how I want to know what to do. Because
Mm.
when I had this in London, my first activation, I was activated for 48 hours. And when I called the facilitator, she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to say to me.
Yeah, yeah. I think now just strengthen. Beyond the sleep playlist, I would say if you're not exercising that much, take more walks in the morning. Get strong, like add muscle to your body and become more solid. If you're really liquid, if you really want to at least like become stable, you need to solidify. Exercise would probably be the best. It could be early morning or in the afternoon, whenever you have the time.
Okay, because I feel, the energy circulate very, very fast on my body, and my hand is so hot. When then I sleep on the bed, my arms start to stand up alone, and they say, "No, please, now let me sleep."
You're going to
So
miss this when this is not happening anymore. So enjoy it even while it's happening, because it's a unique time. There really is a point in our lives when this is something that can happen to anyone. But now that you're bringing this up, I think that's already a form of balancing. Just take the simple advice and just be an overall happy, have fun. If people are weirded out, just whatever. Like I don't know. Just it's a stage. This has happened to so many people. I've listened to
Oh,
this
thank
so
you.
long.
Thank
So
you.
don't worry about it. Okay.
So you
Craig. Oh,
you
sorry.
share
Go
the
ahead.
playlist with us.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
send it through
Okay,
Secret.
I
okay,
already
thank
sent
you.
Juliana, I already sent it to the group.
Just more the
Uh,
Spotify might be better. If it's a C
Yes,
playlist, the
yes, I
organized.
sent it the new one, the rest and digest version too.
Okay, but send the whole Spotify account. Do you have that even?
Okay. Yeah.
The new ones might be helpful even more. It's called I forget the one I just really Rem Ember. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's
thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank
Let's move to
you.
Craig.
So just a quick question. It's kind of continue on of the last question. So you kind of mentioned you really should appreciate the awakening and the Kundalini activation and the movement and the experiences. And you said that you've stabilized your energy now. So what is kind of left from the awakening after awakening and when you're stabilized? So what do you mean it stabilizes sense like so you had
Okay.
that it's stabilized.
So it's like in the beginning it feels intense, you know, it's like almost overwhelming or like so much happening. And then when you're in it for duration, like a long period, the energy might be there. It's like the same energy, but it's not intense. So sometimes it feels like it's not as much energy because you're able to hold it, but the intensity is actually still there. It's just that you're able to hold it. So I think that's where there has been a movement from energy to emotion to information. So how I had experienced it, it became more of a consciousness. Like the energy becomes a consciousness, and it could just manifest in conversations where you're seeing a much larger continuity. It's like you're just seeing it, and there's like a witnessing, like a more of a detachment where you're just watching. But when you're in the energy, there's more of an involvement where the intensity is because you're it's like you're in it. You're not just watching it, you're literally becoming it. Stabilization for me means possibly also you're transitioning into a place that you deserve. So let's say when I was in the energetic space, you know, I didn't have children yet. I haven't really found like a place to call home. So right now I have 3 kids, 2 of which are biologically mine, one of which is a stepdaughter. I have like my ex-partner. I do co-parenting with her. I have my wife. I'm really just happy. For me, stable just means I'm okay where I'm at. I don't need to move around, and I'm just in service. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm helping people. I'm working ecologically with the planet. I'm working with schools. I'm working with jails, working with companies. I'm working with addiction centers. It's like I don't really work, even though I work harder than most people. I do what I want. Today I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday I had to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning because I had another Zoom call. The day before that I had to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. So my circadian rhythm is just so weird, and I'm really stretched out. Like every single day last week I had a 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock Zoom call, and next week already we're in this week. So it's kind of like the same. I have to travel to Cebu the day after. I have to do a thing with the school 6 hours from now. I'm barely sleeping, yet I'm not really tired. So I'm technically doing what I want to do. We have an eco village where everything is super duper organized. But before we got here, it kind of got really intense, you know, like there would be strong storms that would wipe out our structures, wipe out the forests, and there would be problems that come up. And I have to deal with them all the time, even though I'm in a state of joy. I'm joyful, but I may not always be happy because there might be something that needs working out. But lately, I think maybe in the last 2 years, I don't remember having a bad day. There's no suffering there, you know. But do I experience a Kundalini rising? No. Does my body move? You know, because I've already kind of stopped moving. I'm here. I'm really just here. So I believe that everyone deserves to get to that place where the thing that you're doing, the thing that you believe in, that you're passionate about, your highest dreams, they all kind of wrap up in a ball, and it doesn't need to be so fantastic. It could just be normal as being with the kids and just enjoying life. So I often would just look at myself and like, what do I need? It's like, I don't need anything right now. And when I work with people, I don't need anything from anyone. It's like, I'm just there to just be there and just give what I can. And it's kind of stabilized.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Edward, you have another one.
Yes, I don't know if you have time, but I wanted to talk about chemicals. I remember in one of your videos you were talking about people addicted to stimulant or depressant. What would you do when you have, for example, it never happened to me, but half of the room addicted to stimulant and the other half of the room addicted to depressant? And
That's
another
an
question.
interesting one. Yeah.
Another question, just sharing that I conducted session by night at 4 a.m. in the morning, and it was very interesting to work on people when they are straight away just out of the bed and when the melatonin is really kicking in at the maximum.
That's great. But that's still chemical as well as the question. That's good. Yeah, that's an interesting one, the first one. It still goes back to the same unity principle, because what we're going for is not to stimulate or depress people. It's to bring them into a psychedelic chemical state, which is to balance both depressant and stimulant in the body. The psychedelic is a stimulant and a depressant at the same time. That's what hallucinogens are. So if you're working with general addiction where people are on cocaine or heroin, sleeping pills, painkillers, coffee, alcoholics, you actually would still end up with the same, because you want a healthy mix of depressant and stimulants in people's bodies. It's just that then if you're working with merely people on stimulants, then you would maybe bring more depressant there, but you would need to feed enough stimulant energy to activate that which they're used to, but you would need more depressant to bring them into a psychedelic state. Otherwise, they're just on speed. If people are more into depressants, then there has to be more stimulation there. So, for example, depressed people, their heartbeats don't rise above a certain basic BPM level. Their heart rates are usually quite slow. So to raise that heartbeat, you would actually need to stimulate them quite a bit. Maybe you don't want to do that in a single day because they're not used to that speed. So maybe you build it up over a couple of sessions so that they would just learn to be happier if they're depressed. Same with people who are too much in stimulants. Their heart rate is way too fast. So what you want to do is to help them relax, because they're not relaxed. They're always looking for the next like high or speediness. So on the question regarding the time of day, I think that's a really important question. Understanding or studying circadian rhythmicity when would cortisol level be higher as opposed to melatonin and core body temperature. In Maya, when we do trainings, our inner dances actually is usually at 6:30 in the morning or 7 a.m. in the morning. And most people, they're not used to doing a process at that time. But for us, it's the most powerful time. So all of our trainings, we usually do 6:30 if people can wake that early. 6 o'clock is a little bit too early for most people. So 7 o'clock could be the standard. It's still quite early here. We start the day trainings at around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So they have the time to have their breakfast, take a shower. So it's really our practice to work when the dream state is nearer. Because most people, they try to do their sessions at evening. And I think a lot of that is habituated because that's when yoga centers have the free space. That's when people are coming out of the office. But in a way, it's not actually ideal. This is one of the reasons why the techniques are so intense. It's because a lot of the models, especially that emerged out of these cities, like lifestyle-wise, most people are free maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, 9 p.m. for some cities like Hong Kong, Singapore, where people leave the space at 7:30, 8 o'clock. In Europe, I'm sure most people are out of the workspace by 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. I'm not sure. But most people are used to doing the process in the evenings. And for that reason, there was a need to stimulate the energy a lot more because already people were tired and the energy is kind of going down. But when you work on people, maybe late morning or at some times in the afternoon, there is a wave in the afternoon where the energy tends to be a little bit lower during the siesta time. But cortisol level does rise up around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. That's around the time we also do the inner dance process here when we're doing trainings. It doesn't take much to activate people. So yeah, I think just thinking in this way, this type of thinking is very good. It's very particular. It's very reverse engineering. You're not generalizing. You have to understand the inner dance or the activation at the time of the day will differ. There will be variation. So don't generalize. Learn to read the room in this way. Really good. Okay. Let's Karina will be the last because we're already over time. Let's go to Luz. Hi. Let's go to Luz first.
Sparkling water, maybe.
Primero Luceros y después Karina la
Luceros.
última.
Hola.
Buspering Clement.
Hello. Thank you for answering all these
Yeah.
questions. I have also two questions. One of them, you just talk about the that you are sharing this in the jail and well with people that it's addicted to something. Sorry. And then I am also teaching meditation, yoga, and breathwork pranayam inside of the jail where I live in Playa del Carmen. So I am really interested on knowing if you have a different technique or certain things that must be kind of different because the people that it's inside, like inside of the jail is not the same as a person or people that they are in a society or outside. So I am like really concerned about to share this with them because I don't know how to manage all of this situation.
Yeah. I agree with you. So in Manila City Jail, there has been a program for almost 2 years now where there's inner dance in it, but it's also coupled with art. So sometimes the prisoners would lay down and then they go through a journey, but most often they would still need to open their eyes, and then they would do painting or drawing so that they can bring some consciousness, like a level of consciousness to the subconscious, so that they can become more aware of their own minds and their own emotions. And then there could be conversations that helps them to process that. There's a system that just emerged in the UK where a lady in Scotland had been able to enter into the UK prison system. So she now she's got the funding approval to do this in the long term. She's doing it a little bit more the classical way. It does help that she has a strong psychiatric background. She's a professional, so she understands psychology in that way. So she's okay. There's someone who's been speaking to someone from the EU prison system that could possibly even scale this to like regions in Europe if it's successful, but that's still ongoing, and they haven't done anything there yet. But to answer your question, there are ways of activating the energy that would shut down parts of the brain. We'd have to go into neurology to really understand this. There's part of the brain that's related to maintaining the self. Part of that would be in the prefrontal cortex. There would be the precuneus, the posterior cingulate cortex, all of which are necessary to have a sense of morality and a sense of conscience, you know? And in the process that we do, to be honest, like in the beginning phases, understanding or having looked at the 12 stages, the main basic techniques actually shuts down a lot of those systems that allow people to understand the difference between right and wrong. I mean, in a spiritual sense, there's something beyond a lot of that standard, but we're not there. We have to be pragmatic and we have to be situational. We want to be responsible. So if we're working within itchy nose. If we're working within situations like these, we need to understand the mapping. So there are certain ways to not shut down the precuneus, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, and that would really just be any technique that holds more conscious awareness, not just because the normal like especially when we bring up the Kundalini activation process as it had spread globally, which had influenced many people's understanding of how activation should work. I'm partly responsible for that because the early inner dance techniques were quite basic. It was really more about activating the body, making the body move like that. And a lot of that is explainable through the rerouting of dopamine through the top of the brain to the basal ganglia, which then shuts off the thinking process. But I think when we bring up these case specific situations, like bringing it to the jail, that's not going to work because that actually could lead people to not be able to justify their own actions because they're not able to think of it well. So there could be complementary practices like journaling, like certain dialogues. So I would be more confident in bringing this to jail programs if it was more program based. It wasn't just going to be workshop based. There has to be a protocol. There has to be longer ways of studying. Like here in the Philippines, we actually got an offer to start a program in Iwahig Penal Colony, which is the biggest prison system in the Philippines by landmass, not based in population, but in the future, they're moving most of the prisoners in the Philippines to Palawan. So this is a project that we're having to really study, because if you open up the Pandora's box in a prison, it could be quite intense to work with the emotions of guilt and shame. You really need to be in there. You need to be ready. I think if you're going to start something like that, you need to be there for the long term. But I think there needs to be more study. There has to be a lot more information that is available if you're going to situate yourself there, including schools. Yeah, so more trainings are needed. But the interest is good. Keep going there. It's important work what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And the other one is, does inner dance session really awaken and active the Kundalini energy, talking about like the sexual energy or like the coil is sleeping at the base of the spine?
I don't use Kundalini as a concept. I have not for a long time. I can explain the sexual energy from brain regions and endocrine systems. It can definitely affect any of it. We can affect everything and all of it. For me, Kundalini is a much too simple term that had just gotten really, really popular because it helps to explain the autonomous movement and the fast changes that are happening in people. But definitely the answer is yes. From where you're asking, well, inner dance is a Kundalini experience. It's based on how electricity spreads through the brain, the spine, and the whole body. So the answer is in general, yes. But if you wanted to go deeper into this, there are structural ways of understanding it. But Kundalini is not a word I use, and it's just my preference. But I respect and I understand where a lot of people are in the usage of the term. Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Karina.
Perdón, que voy a hacer otra vez. Agradecerte por tus libros. Y yo llevo una dieta vegana hace muchos años y leyendo tu historia y escuchando lo de tu energía y esto de que dormís pocas horas, ¿qué relación tiene con la alimentación? Yo antes de las sesiones le pido a los que van a participar que traten de estar ligeros en cuanto a la comida, no comer carne, estar varias horas en lo posible ayunando antes de la sesión, y creo que quiero saber si eso realmente tiene un peso como el horario, y creo que toda esta maravillosa sabiduría se despertó en vos en parte por ese tiempo de ayuno, ¿no? De limpieza del cuerpo.
Okay, so if I understood it right, we're looking at whether it is important if people are heavy before a session or not. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is better. I think it is better that people are light. That there is a kind of fasting that happens before a process. So when we hold trainings, everything is vegan and often raw as much as possible. A lot of people, they go into a coconut diet and some people just are on water and they get really weak and it gets really deep and like a lot of the emotions are there. But we know that a lot of people can't do that. So the energy of transformation that we're still able to hold can convert a lot of the heaviness in people's bodies so that even if they are not light, it's okay. But as a general principle, because this energy did come from lightness, light, then it would be an opportunity for us to teach people to rely more on what's already inside rather than to keep buying it in the store and consuming it. I think one of the gifts this brings is the awareness that everything we need is already inside of us. But a lot of people, they have the hunger. They're trying to get the energy from inside. So the question is, why are we doing this? So I think the process is supposed to help with addiction The more exact words I use would be energy consumption as opposed to energy conservation. Sometimes we're eating too much because we're thinking too much and we're worrying too much. We're not simple. What this energy wants to give is like sacred simplicity. So energy conservation as opposed to energy consumption, I think, is the way to heal not just the humans, but also the planet. And then we feel a lot better if that's the case. Yeah, amazing. I love that. Gracias too. Sus, and that can be the last. Yes.
Hello, Pai. This is Susan speaking. You hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes, I still have a question after the last time I share my experience. And until now, 1 week later, I still feel a lot of pain in my body that is moving from down to up. And it's almost like when there is thoughts coming, there is pain occurring in different places of my body. Do you have experience with that?
You're gonna have to wait this out. It takes a while. If you're feeling a pain, then it means there is something there. So it wants to show itself to you. Either you could just keep laying down to this when the pain comes. It's trying to speak something. So either you're able to listen to it to see what it is speaking, or you just move into a lighter space, it would go away. But is it in your spine?
Well, it's like there is a balloon in my stomach all the time, and it's going from the heart to the throat to the crown. It's all over the place, and my head.
And it's moving.
Yeah.
Okay. Try the sleep playlist as well. I think that could be your key. When Siegfried sends it, try to go to bed with it at least like a few days a week if you can do it every day. If you have a partner and then he might get disturbed, then you can use headphones. But maybe your REM state could help. Like from my experiences, what feedbacks are telling people are telling me they're waking up feeling a lot lighter. So see if that helps. But because where you're coming from is quite general, I don't know how to read it from here. You're just gonna have to trust it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is again quite a call, and then we actually surpassed the 3-hour mark, which is amazing. It means you're still here. A lot of people, they can't like sit with 3 hours. Okay, so Siegfried, if you can help me close. It's really
Sure.
amazing.
Sure. Thank you, Pai. Well, as people said in the chat and in the WhatsApp group, so how amazingly, in a loving way, you are able and willing to listen to everybody and to give the answers, which are very appropriate to all the questions. So thank you very much for proposing and hosting these two special editions, these two special classes, which were instead of 4 hours, were 6 hours in total. So you've been with us in this 1 week like 3 times. So I want personally to thank you for that. And yes, we invite the community to share. I want to inspire all here in the different 4 languages to some of them write down notes or transcript or so, to share this among the community as we are growing together and bringing this to the world. Don't just keep it for yourself, but follow the example of Pai, of being generous, of saying, okay, I've done some work, I've done some experience, and let's share it in this beautiful community, and then bring it to this bigger world. And we can still learn so much each time. I learn a lot each time you ask questions. I learn so much when Pai is giving the answers, and then I think the sharing is the way we're growing. And yeah, I would like to invite you to continue with that beautiful energy on that. And for all the questions, we have the Zoom calls every 2 weeks, like the Wednesday in English, in Italian, in Spanish, and Tuesday. So if you have questions, please also collect them and bring in that space or the WhatsApp group. So yeah, just that would be my invitation, and my thank also for all the people who came and stayed for 3 hours. So beautiful to see you again. And
3.5.
3.5, yes.
That's long. Yeah, it's amazing.
Very long, yes. So yeah, that would be my closing for today.
So maybe everyone can just unmute and in your own language, just make a sound of good night and thank you and
Thank you.
whatever.
Спасибо.
Good
Gracias.
night to everyone.
Chao.
Sending love.
Muchas
Gracias.
gracias. Gracias,
Dankeschön.
bye.
Gracias,
Thank you
gracias.
so much. Bye.
Muchas gracias.
Nos vemos.
Gracias.
Chao,
See
chao.
some of you soon.
Chao.
Gracias.
Mucho
amor,
gracias.
Gracias. Pondremos
Gracias,
el vídeo
Sigfrid.
en nuestro canal de YouTube y lo subimos para todos.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Sigfrid.
Gracias a vosotros. Thank you so much. Beautiful to see all the faces. And yeah, thank you, Pai, for this late hours or early hours for you. I really admire you for that. I can do with little sleep, but the way you are doing it, I wouldn't be able. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everyone. I'll log off.
Chao,
now.
amigo. Muchas gracias.
Bye.
Love you all. Bye.